Thank you. As you can see, I brought my colleague, and that's because we are two planning this course. Thank you for joining our session. We come from VIA University College, the School of Nursing in Holstebro.
My name is Hanne Duedahl.
And I'm Randi Kontni. This presentation is about our module 6. It starts with 2 weeks of theory, and then we have two times 4 weeks of in different healthcare settings of 4 weeks each. During the practical period, the students join 3 camps where they work entrepreneurial. The theoretical weeks include individual studies where the students reads, prepares, and work with an individual e-portfolio. There are lectures, and the students work in groups, and the students have group discussions in cafe groups. During the lectures, the teacher is creating a general view over the curriculum and allows explanation and discussions. We reduce the lectures to give more space for groups activities, which our students really appreciate. It's all about reducing more, even more than now. The schedule includes groups where the students work with cases related to the clinics, and the work is shared on joint project sites. The students appreciate the opportunity to work with the cases that prepare them for the clinics where they are going afterwards. Each week the groups share their work with other groups at a group cafe. By turns the groups presents, pose supplementary questions and observe the process. At the end of the theoretical 2 weeks, the students update their individual e-portfolio with their own work and their work in groups. As a transition to the clinical period, we ask them to explain who am I and what do I know, who do I know, and what is my professionalism, and what I am concerned with, corresponding to bird in hand. The students are encouraged to demonstrate openness and curiosity in the clinic.
All camps take place at campus. The clinic is complex. Therefore, we ask the students to focus at prevention and health promotion. Doing so, they are supposed to disclose a disharmony and introduce it at the first camp. Disharmonies are practices in which we engage that common sense leads us to overlook because they are not well coordinated with our own other practices. In groups, the students choose one of the presented disharmonies and discuss if it is a real disharmony. If the disharmony is an option for them to keep on working with, we point out the importance that it really has to be their option. Our librarian introduces the students to research in order to illuminate their disharmony. The students need scientific knowledge to reflect on whether there is an anomaly. Each group share then their results from the research on a project site. Related to convergent thinking, the groups discuss, analyze, and evaluate the results from the research at the second camp day. Doing so, they qualify opportunities from disharmonies to entrepreneurial opportunities. Related to divergent thinking, the students are then encouraged to dream of a world without the disharmony. Because if you can dream it, you can do it. And the dream we dream together might become reality. Not all students are comfortable doing so. It's hard work. But before closing the second camp, we encourage the students to become very concrete. At last, at the second camp, as a transition to the third camp, we tell the students to ask professionals as well as citizens what they think about their idea. Doing so, they collect as many comments as possible, which helps them qualify the concrete idea. At the third and last camp, the students work with the business model canvas to qualify their idea further. They shall relate analytically and effectually to the clinical partners. For our students, this is quite a new way of thinking. Anyhow, the students whom finds divergent thinking difficult seem to like this kind of work. And finally, the students pitch their idea to clinical partners from related clinics. The audience gives feedback directed to the nearest next step. We think a successful pitch pushes the students and strengthens their self-efficacy and competence to action, which is very obvious when the students evaluate themselves. The students self-evaluate the process in their group and their own flowchart in the ACT program developed by Anne Kirketab. The ACT program monitors their feeling of freedom, engagement, relations, competences, and courage. To increase the students' self-awareness and initiative, the students must reflect on their process at the clinical examination. And after the third camp, we further want the students to launch their ideas. At the clinical examination, we expect the students to present how to launch the next step, but this does not happen all the time.
Many students feel too busy. They feel confused about working with entrepreneurship instead of concentrating at their subject. Although some of the students really have fun with the process, and they don't expect to learn as much as they afterwards realize they did. Afterwards they realized they learned a lot and that the hard work was worth it. And the clinics saw that students were involved and have had some good reflection on the topics they worked with, but still they don't launch. But we think the setting works against the process because we have the clinical placements and they want similar plans for all the students. We are not allowed to go on with our requirement of reflecting on ACT at the clinical examination. And some of our colleagues think we offer too much time on this process. Yet we plan camp number 4.